All right, we are live. We are back again on the Hollywood Purgatory. This is where the entertainment industry comes to get judged. This is Jeffrey Harris here reporting from 411 Mania in Los Angeles, La La Land, Hollywood, Southern California region. And over in Northern California in Sacramento, NoCal, we have Jay Snook of the Good Men Project. Hi, Jay. How are you today?
Hey there, how's it going? What's up?
All right, so we're fully recovered from WonderCon. I hope we survived April Fool's Day.
Mm-hmm.
April Fool's Day fell on Easter Sunday this year.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it was a little odd. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't know how you feel, but sometimes I wish April Fool's Day would just get wiped off the calendar forever. I can't stand April Fool's Day and April Fool's Day jokes.
Mm.
What do you think?
Not really a biggie to me. It's not really a big holiday to me.
What is the Triforce telling you?
It's telling me it's no big deal.
it's telling you it is no big deal. But,
April Fool's Day, silly day.
I mean, I wasn't celebrating Easter. Were you celebrating Easter Sunday?
I did with family a little bit. Nothing too exciting.
Well, I didn't celebrate it because I'm Jewish, and now it's Passover. So there you go. So, well, this week we put it off our last show because we were mainly focused on WonderCon, but now we're going to talk about it. This week it is Steven Spielberg doing a new blockbuster type of film, Ready Player One. The film is out right now. It's done fairly well. Let's see. I mean, 76% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It made like 53 mil. I think its opening weekend, which isn't too bad. I mean, I guess
it did pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it did pretty good, not great at the box office, but I think it did good, approximate to like what films usually do on Easter weekend this time of year. So let me see.
I think too. I thought I saw that it said it was one of his better openings in a while. I think is what it said.
Well, I mean, he hasn't done a film like this in a while either. So let's see. The film did 53 million for the holiday weekend, 41 million for the 3-day, but it's done very well overseas. So far, it's made 181 million worldwide. So that's pretty good for this film.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So this film is based on a popular book by Ernest Cline. So this is our spoiler cast review, and when we do a spoiler cast review, we are going to do a deep dive into the film. We're going to talk about story details in the entire movie, and that will include spoilers. Look, the movie's out right now. We're giving you fair warning. This is a spoiler cast. We have no standing embargo. So here's what you can do. You can turn off the show right now, and then you can go out, watch the movie, and then come back and watch it later. Or, Jay, what's the other thing they can do?
Earmuffs. Just cover your ears.
Cover your ears.
Put it on mute. You can put it on mute too.
Put it on mute for a while, and until we're done talking about Ready Player One. Also, I'm very sorry for my awful stubble today. I haven't shaved in a little bit. It probably looks weird, so I'm sorry about that. I really need to shave this week. Normally, I shave before we do the show. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
So I'm not really sure.
So I'm very sorry about that for my really unsightly stubble. But we're just gonna have to soldier through it, right, Jay?
Correct. Yes, we will.
All right. So the movie's out. It's doing well. Popular book by Ernest Cline. Steven Spielberg, one of the most celebrated filmmakers and directors of all time, directed this film. So you're a big fan of this book, Jay. As a fan of the book, did the movie offend you or did it satisfy you?
Well, when it comes down to it, it was good, but the book is just better for a few reasons. Basically, it's able to go more into the characters. You're in the Oasis a lot more, so you see a lot more of the Oasis and a lot more about it. You see some about it here, and a mountain here, but you're in a lot more in the Oasis there than you are here. Here it's kind of more of the real world than the book had, and they changed some things. Some actually made sense. I'll admit that there were some challenges that made sense to change, because when I read them in the book, I'm like, I don't really get that reference, because they were like based on movies I hadn't seen or games I just hadn't played, because they were really early either computer games or like video games that just were before my time. I was kind of annoyed that they got rid of the gates. The gates were really cool in the book. The gates were really awesome. I couldn't wait for the gates, so it was kind of a bummer they just cut those out entirely. But it wasn't bad for the fact of, I mean, it changed some stuff that made sense. Some stuff that had been changed I wish hadn't been changed. But overall, it did it as fair justice as it could.
So just to start this a little bit, Ready Player One is set in the year 2045 in Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, there's this very popular massive multiplayer online virtual reality game called Oasis, which was created by Gregarious Games and this sort of prodigy game developer genius. Was it Halliday? Halliday?
James Halliday and Ogden Morrow.
Simon Pegg plays Ogden Morrow, and Halliday is played by Mark Rylance. He's done quite a few films recently with Spielberg.
He did BFG, and he was also in, what else has he been in lately?
Bridge of Spies. He was in that. That was Spielberg.
He was actually in.
He's done a bunch.
What was that one movie he was in? He
was in Dunkirk. He was.
That's it, Dunkirk.
He was one of the civilian sailors.
Yeah, he was in Dunkirk.
Yeah, so he's been working steadily lately, and he's been in a lot of Spielberg's recent films.
Yes,
so he created this game. It's very popular. Like, everyone in the world plays it.
It's more than a game, though. It's more of just like a VR world, really. And there's a lot of games in the world. That's kind of what actually happens. At least in the book, that's what happens.
I mean, it's a virtual reality landscape world.
Yeah. It's more than just a game. It's like there's a lot of games in it, but it's really just
it's kind of like Minecraft, right? Like, Minecraft is more than just a game, right?
True. Fair enough.
Minecraft there's a bunch of little stuff you can. It's sort of like you can do whatever you want in this world, basically.
In a manner of speaking, yes.
Like, he created this digital world, and everyone plays it and plays around in it, and you can do whatever you want. So this world, in this world, you create your own avatar. You can make your avatar however you want it to look. You can collect money, but there's a few catches. Whenever you die in this game, your character you created, he zeroes out, and you're reset back to, like, basically level 0 or level 1 or whatever. And you lose any money or special upgrades or special items you collected over the course of your life. You lose all of that.
Yeah.
The main character of this film, he's a young man named Wade Watts, who is Ty Sheridan, who's Cyclops. He's Cyclops in the new X-Men films. He's the lead of this film. His character avatar's name is Parzival. Now, he's this sort of like they're these sort of like industrial beams of trailers and trailer park cars and Winnebagos called the Stacks. It's sort of a slum, basically surrounded by a garbage heap. He's sort of like a down on his kid. He's a poor kid, but what he has going for him is that he's a brilliant player at this. He's very good at Oasis. He knows all the trivia. He knows all the tricks of the trade. He's sort of like this savant gamer type, and he knows everything there is to know about James Halliday, the creator of Oasis. So 5 years ago, before the time of the movie, Halliday died. Before he died, he left a message to the world that I left an Easter egg in my game. If you find this Easter egg, you will not only get control of Oasis, you will get control of my company, and our stock is like valued in the trillions. So basically,
he said $500 billion. So you get $500 billion. All right,
so that means 500 billion, basically. So you become a certified billionaire, and you become the new owner of this game. So on the other half of that, we have IOI, which is, what are they called? Interactive Online Industries?
Something like that.
All right. And their CEO is Nolan Sorrento, played by Ben Mendelsohn. Now, I would say IOI was basically a stand-in for Electronic Arts in this game. What would you say to that?
I just know that They're like, the usual evil corporation that wants to take over something because they see all the money that's available for. Where Holiday never wanted to do money. He just wanted to see people could do it.
So this is sort of like this is your typical greedy movie corporation, evil corporation, right?
Yeah.
So they want to take over. They want to take over Oasis before any of the players can find this Easter egg. So there are three hidden challenges.
3 keys, yes.
And at the end of each challenge is a key.
Correct.
If you collect all 3 keys, you will be able to unlock the Easter egg, and you will become the one true ruler of this game.
And one thing in this movie that kind of got touched on there was really 2 sides in the Oasis. There was the grunters, where people usually worked alone who wanted to find the key for themselves.
They're solo players.
There was the Sixers, which was Iowa, which everybody hated because they knew that basically if they got a hold of Oasis, only rich people could afford Oasis. Right now, everybody could afford Oasis.
So to explain Sixers, like Iowa has basically an army of their own conscripted professional players who are basically they're funding all these players in the game to basically take it over and find all the secrets and get all those keys. Wade just happens to figure out the secret to the first, which is this big race. This big race through a city where King Kong is chasing you and the T-Rex from Jurassic Park is chasing you, and he is able to not inexplicably, he figures out the secret on how to unlock the key, and he's the first one to win this challenge. So now he gets all this attention. IOI is on his tail because they don't want this young kid to take over the game. And then he also gets the attention of another top Oasis player who is Artemis, played by Olivia Cook. She's like this she's a female gamer, and Wade is obviously attracted to her. She wants to get the Easter egg so IOI doesn't get control of it. More on that later. But
also, it's good to remember too. He figures it out because going to the Holiday Journals, which was a place in the Oasis where anything on Holiday was there.
I don't want to get that far ahead though. So I guess first little talking point. So what did you think of Ty Sheridan as Wade, and compared? I mean, since you're the big fan of the book, were you satisfied with his interpretation of Wade Watts? Parsival.
He does a good job with Wade Watts. He does, again, they left certain things out, kind of would give in Ty more to do, but
that's to be expected when you're making a book into a movie. You can't put in everything.
But with what Ty was given, he actually did a pretty good job with what he was given. He really did. I mean, he did a good job with Wade Watts.
I think he's better in this film than he has been in the X-Men films, or I guess Apocalypse.
Well, I wouldn't blame him for that. The movie was just terrible.
I mean, you thought you would agree he was much better as the leading man here, right?
Yeah, I agree.
He was very believable. Yeah. So Wade's character, he lives in the slums in Columbus. He has to live with his parents died, and he lives with his aunt and her boyfriend, who's sort of a total jerk and a bully, and abusive. But he knows how to play this game. He knows what he's doing inside this game. His best friend in the game is H, who is played by Lena Waithe. Were you happy with Lena Waithe's performance as H, who's sort of they're not in a clan together, but they're like best friends in the game?
My only problem with it was, again, she wasn't really how she was in the book. In the book, she's very different. We can learn more about her in the book, and not only that, but you see more of their interactions in the book than you did in this. In this, she's kind of there. You see her in Oasis a bit, and then then you see her. Oh, look what she looks like. So there's a lot more in the book for her than there was in this movie.
H is a really good Oasis player, and she's also probably one of the top community mod creators. One of the more amusing elements, she builds her own Iron Giant sort of tool in this game, which is a lot of fun. We'll get to more of that material later for the
And
film.
it's important to remember too that in the big thing about this book that was in the movie was the reason the stacks are the way is because the world is overpopulated. So
Right.
that's why. That's a big reason why. It's like, you know, Wade Watts lived where he did, and the world was the way it was because overpopulation became an insanely big problem. And supposedly Columbus, Ohio, in this movie and the book, is one of the fastest growing cities in the world right now.
It's a pretty
even more overpopulated.
The state of the world looks pretty bleak in this film, to be honest with you,
and in the book too, of course.
The film, but what's interesting is the film doesn't focus on that too much. You know,
not as much as again the book did.
Like the world. And look, this is about players trying to like save a video. They're not trying to save the world in this film. They're trying to get control of a video game.
Yeah, of Oasis.
And it's a little interesting because Steven Spielberg's made a lot of sort of darker, more cynical films. But even though this film has a sort of bleak setting that's sort of dystopian, it's not a very cynical film at all, I don't think. Would you agree?
I do. I agree.
And it doesn't really, even though the world looks like a pretty rough place, he doesn't really focus on how bad it is. So not like Blade Runner 2049, which is pretty. Yeah. That also had a very bleak dystopian setting, but this film, I guess, was a little more optimistic in a way.
Yeah, it had a really good soundtrack. I'll say that there was like I said, the challenges weren't bad. I kind of wish they had. Well, we'll get into that. We'll keep going. We'll get into that.
What did you think? How did you like the interpretation of the setting, the stacks, how the world looks in the future in Columbus, and those elements?
The stacks looked great. They did a good job with the stacks. The stacks looked really good. They did a good job with that. And even his hideaway wasn't bad. It looked a little different in the in the book, but still, it was a pretty good interpretation of that.
Right.
For the fact of, it was a pretty good interpretation.
What about the drone? Like, there's a lot of drones in this film. Spielberg does not see, based on watching the film, it doesn't seem like Spielberg. He doesn't seem to be a big fan of drones. You know,
I actually thought that was a good idea. It made sense to put those in there because they're so big now, and it wouldn't be crazy to see them just get bigger. You know, and like they had like people like delivering like stuff to them on drones and things like that. So I actually thought that made sense to add that in there because it was kind of something. Because I think the book was written in the 80s, I think, or the 90s.
No, it wasn't. The book.
Well, the book came
out in like 2011.
Okay, my bad. I knew that. I just brain fried. But anyways, like, you know, even in 2011. I don't think drones were the way they are.
Not quite as prevalent as they are now.
So that was something that, like, you know, when it was tweaked, it was a make sense tweak. So I thought that made sense.
So drones were not a big thing in the original book, is what you're saying.
No, they weren't. Not really. No.
But I mean, kind of just based on watching the film, it seems like, I wouldn't say it's cautionary, but it seems very alarming. Spielberg seems to be very alarmed about drone technology. Would you agree?
Yeah, I could say that, especially when IOI uses it. Yeah,
IOI, they use drones for surveillance and basically spying on the whole city, and they use the drones for more nefarious purposes as well. Later in the film.
Very true. Very true.
So basically, Wade is the first one to win the first challenge and get the first key, and it sort of it makes him sort of a celebrity for Oasis, and he sort of has a relationship with Artemis because of that. He's really attracted to her, and Artemis, her real interest in him is she wants to beat the game too, but her interest in solving the Easter egg challenge is because she doesn't want IOI to get control of the game, because IOI, I mean, look, they're a greedy, evil corporation, and they have these loyalty centers. And basically, with the loyalty centers, it's basically slavery. They have these sort of virtual reality game camps where they force people into hard labor and to doing stuff in the Oasis game. And they do it by like buying people's debts. That's a little scary too. The idea that someone can buy your debt and take ownership of you. We're not quite there yet, but that's a little scary that a corporation could buy your debt off and basically control you as a result.
So really, when it comes down to the first challenge,
right.
I thought it was actually not bad that they did it. I still kind of like the first challenge in the book better, but they didn't do a bad job with it.
How is so in the movie they have that race through the city with like all the obstacles with the T-Rex, King Kong. What was the first challenge in the book?
So in the book, what happens is what leads to the first challenge is Wade and a bunch of people actually go to school every day in the Oasis. So there's a planet where it's just like schools for kids, pretty much.
That's not even in the film.
No, it's not. And so what happens is it's had something to do with D&D again or something like that Halliday was really into in the book. And there was like this like thing shaped like a skull, and that's where the first challenge was. And when you went in there, you saw this like evil, like kind of like looking demon king type thing, and he played joust against him. And what happened was when he beat him in joust is when he got the first key. That's how it all happened. And what happened was, when he realized, because him and H, and you kind of saw it in the movie, him and H had a little hideaway where like they'd go and like watch movies, play video games, things like that. Talk retro stuff.
Was it her workshop or something else?
It was something else. It was like a little like hideaway they just had, right? And so with like a bunch of like stuff on Halliday and all that stuff, like movies, games, things like that, right?
In the book does Wade's avatar have the DeLorean as his car?
Got it eventually, but not right away. No, but and so what happens is, once he finds out Artemis was there, and Artemis kind of found out, he kind of helped Artemis get the first one. And their relationship is definitely not as rushed in the book. You see a lot more of it going on. And actually what happens in the book is, because you see them go to a club in this, right. In the book, they get invited to Ogden Morrow's birthday party, which happens to be in a similar club like that.
Ogden Morrow, he didn't really have much of a role in this movie anyway.
No, he's got much more of a role in the book. And so then what happens is, we did see, when they're at the club, IOI shows up and breaks in and causes all hell. That happened in the book, but again at Morrow's birthday party. So that's when it happened.
My understanding is that IROC and Sorrento were the same characters in the book.
Yes, they were. That was actually his avatar, was IROC. Yeah.
Right. And in the movie, they're two separate characters.
Yeah.
TJ Miller is IROC, who's sort of this player killer who works for Sorrento and basically uncovers Wade. Like, they're trying to find out who Wade is and either hire him over to their side or basically eliminate him in the real world. We never find out who IROC is. Did you like TJ Miller as IROC though, and how they did that character?
He wasn't bad, but to be honest,
yeah,
I kind of wish they just kept IROC and Halliday the same, not Halliday, and Sorrento the same, because it makes Sorrento's character all that more scary. Because IROC looked good, don't be wrong. After IROC looked great, but I think it would have been better Sorrento, because Sorrento would give him another evil element.
I got the sense Sorrento.
He's evil in the Avatar.
Well, I got the sense that Sorrento, he didn't in the movie. He didn't seem like he was very good at the game at all. Yeah. And he needed, he didn't really understand the games like Artemis or Wade do. And he's trying, and he needs people like IROC to do all the heavy lifting for him. That's the sense I got from that character.
And then we have to remember too, in the book, there was no place to go called Halliday Journals. It didn't exist. What happened was grunters like Wade just had to, like Parzival just had to keep notes themselves, lots and lots of notes. Like they'd watch his favorite shows, his favorite movies, play his favorite games, things like that.
All right, since you mentioned that, this is my least favorite aspect of the film. I don't like that in the film he's able to basically go to a library that's overseen by this character called the curator. More on him later. And apparently Halliday and Morrow, they kept digital webcam files of all their office meetings and their office parties, apparently, and after the office parties, and put them in a library which anyone can see in the Oasis. That's a little far-fetched to me, and that didn't work for me.
It was weird. It didn't make sense. It was kind of weird.
I mean, if he kept personal diaries and journals and made those available to players, that makes sense. Yes, but I mean, I mean, because gamers are crazy. Gamers would read that, but I can't buy that he videoed like all these just random things in his office and was able and digitize them and put them in a library. That makes no sense at all. Who would do that?
Yeah, like I said in the book, like grunters like him and Artemis. And Artemis, by the way, I think she was a really big blogger or something like that. I think it was in the book anyway.
Or a vlogger, maybe. I mean, they talk about her vlogs in the
book,
movie.
and she was famous for that. So when Parzival finally met her, he's like, "Holy crap, it's Artemis!" But it wasn't Artemis like, "Hey, you're really attractive. I like you." It's Artemis, you're famous.
Right. Well, it was kind of like that in the film.
Sorta, but we got to see more of it in the book again. And
but like I'm just saying, Jay, I can't buy the idea that like even like a really like hardcore game developer would videotape all that stuff and like anyone could watch it.
Yeah, they
like,
wouldn't. No.
That's not realistic, right?
No.
No. And it sounds like it's a little more realistic and simpler in the book.
Yes. Because, like I said in the book, like if a grunter they had to do all the research themselves. Right. There was none of this, stuff of like, hey, let's just like go to a little like journal place. No. You had to keep notes yourself. If you
right. You had to like the game. I like the idea that a gamer would have to do the heavy lifting themselves
and that's what like Aish had to do. That's what Parzival had to do. Parzival had like insane amount of journals and notes on just like all of Halliday's favorite stuff. So like if Halliday liked to go like a show or a video game or a movie or something like that or a book, you could go into Oasis and find out about that stuff and watch that stuff. You could watch like his favorite shows and movies and all that stuff. But
that makes sense.
That you could do that, but you
can just go to like right now. If you have an Xbox One or a PlayStation, you can already do that right now, basically.
Yeah.
It's not virtual reality, but you can do that.
Yeah, you can
to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
So let's kind of pause a little bit and let's actually talk about how the world of the Oasis was realized in this film. I liked it for the most part. I do have some mixed feelings though. But how are your feelings on how the interpretation and the presentation of Oasis in the film?
I thought it was good, but again, we get to see so little of it, and it was in the book you see so much. I mean, at one point,
they go to school there. Like kids going to school in virtual reality in the future makes sense to me.
Yes, and there was at one point, he gets his own little asteroid, his own world, where he has ships and cars and guns and things. He has like the Firefly at one point. He has the Millennium Falcon. He has like things at one point, so he has that at one point.
Apparently Spielberg wanted to cut out a lot of those references.
And it was just a bummer too, because you got to see a lot more worlds. I mean, there was a part in the book that I kind of knew wasn't going to make it in the movie, but I would have loved to see it anyway.
Which is
where when him and Artemis were just starting to go together, they go to Planet Transylvania. Which, if you get that reference, which maybe you do, maybe you don't, is they go on a date where they go to
Count Dracula and all that.
No, actually, transsexual. I meant Planet Transsexual is what I meant.
This Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Transylvania. So what happens was on one of their dates, Artemis is able to help them get into like the shadow cast for it, and like he's Eddie and she's like Columbia, and that was
from Rocky Horror.
Yeah, that was the part when I read that in the book. I'm like, that I didn't think I would see it, but it was just sound like that was a really great reference. I loved.
Now I want to hear your thoughts on this. I've heard a lot of critics of the book feel the movie is way too referential of movies and TV show of things, and it gets tiresome. What do you have to say to those critics?
I have to say it's not true because there's a lot of pop culture references in here, but the book has like 5-10 times
in the book. In the book, that's a common complaint, though.
I beg to differ. I mean, I liked a lot of the references in there, and frankly, I agree there were some references that I didn't get. It's just reality. Like in like I said, Joust. I don't know that game. That's way.
It's an old like 1980s early video game. I think it was on Atari.
The second challenge was another game I'd never even heard of. It was on the Atari or something like that. And then Adventure, I never really heard of either. So there was stuff like that where like I didn't really get the references, but I liked the references a lot. Like there was actually
Adventure is from 1980. Like these are really old games. I haven't even played Adventure. You know,
Yeah, but there were a lot of references, but I liked all of them in the book personally. And but the big thing from the book to the movie that I really think they missed out on is just they could have because they tell very little about Ace, they tell very little about Artemis. You see Wade Watts go through a lot more in the book,
right?
And Shoto and Daito, they kind of threw stuff in that wasn't really in the book at all. It's just
those Sho and Daito in the movie. They are so people know what we're talking about. Yeah. They are Helen's friends in the game, and they inadvertently become sort of part of basically. Even though Wade is sort of like a solo player, he inadvertently gets his own sort of clan of players. Mm-hmm. They sort of form this makeshift hero clan to fight against IOI. But yeah, what about Shoto and Daito?
Yeah, and that was a real big problem too, because really they didn't band together until the third challenge because they knew they had to. And also, we saw in the film where they used that force field. They actually used that force field in the other two challenges too in the book. So it wasn't just used once; it was used 3 times actually.
I'm mainly talking about, but Oasis. Like how do you think Oasis looked in the film generally?
I think
and the avatars.
I think when it looked the best was when they went to I want to say Anarok's domain, or it was called.
Right.
That was when it looked the best. That was like the best Oasis
moment. Do you like how do you like how they realized the avatars and sort of how they played around?
Yeah, I thought it looked good. I liked it. I thought it was good.
I had a few quibbles. I think when they're doing the action scenes, it looks a little too fast at times to me.
Maybe.
And I would have liked them to slow things down a little more. And I don't know. I feel like it's weird because it looks like it was designed to be photorealistic, but it's clearly not quite photorealistic. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit weird to me. And now, apparently, there are a lot less pop culture references in the movie than there are in the book, but they're still very prevalent throughout the film. Mm-hmm. What do you think of what Spielberg did in terms of referencing? He did a couple references to his film. I mean, Spielberg did produce Back to the Future, and there's a Zemeckis cube for director Robert Zemeckis who he directed Back to the Future films. Mm-hmm. I thought that was amusing, and what's great is Alan Silvestri, who was the composer for Back to the Future. He was a composer for this film as well, and I think at one point you could even hear a bit of the Back to the Future theme. Did you notice that? Mm-hmm. Like there's a part in the nightclub, I think, when they use the Zemeckis cube where he does use a bit of the Back to the Future theme.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So what did you think of how he used references in this film?
I thought it was all right, but there were some times where I guess I was just kind of bummed they changed some of the references. There were some that I kind of wish they hadn't changed, is what I really have to say when it comes to that.
What did they change especially?
A big one was there was a really great reference for the third gate because they had the holy hand grenade at Antioch. That was cool to see.
That's from Monty Python, right?
That was cool to see, but they actually went deeper in the book where when he goes to the third gate, he's King Arthur and he has to pretty much like recite every line in the movie, which was great. So you would have seen him being King Arthur.
That's kind of what I was. You mean when Arthur in Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Yeah. When that was the third gate, and he actually had his friend helping him with lines if he couldn't every now and again, and so that would have been really cool to see. I would have loved to have seen that because that movie's just awesome, and seeing him do that would have been great. I would have. So
let's see the. I want to. Here's the holy hand grenade thing.
Yeah.
O Lord, bless this thy hand grenade, that with it thou mayest blow thine enemies to tiny bits in mercy. And the Lord did grin, and the people did feast upon the lambs and sloths and carp and anchovies and orangutans and breakfast cereals and fruit bats and large. Skip it, brother. And the Lord spake, saying, First shalt thou take out the holy pin, then shalt thou count to 3, no more, no less. 3 shall be the number thou shalt count, and the number of the counting shall be 3. 4 shalt thou not count, nor either count thou 2, excepting that thou then proceed to 3. 5 is right out, Once the number 3, being the third number, be reached, then lobbest thou thy holy hand grenade of Antioch towards thy foe, who being naughty in my sight shall snuff it. So that whole thing is in the book.
Yeah.
I was hoping.
No.
What I mean is in the book.
What I mean is in the book. What I mean is in the book is for the third gate. When he goes into the third gate, he is King Arthur. His avatar becomes King Arthur, and you see, like, you know, pretty much he's supposed to line for line do every line of King Arthur through the movie, and he can't really mess up more than once or twice, or he gets kicked out.
Right. That's funny.
The only time he
does change his avatar, but the only time he like changes into like a different like he changes into Buckaroo Banzai once, and he doesn't do it very much. He doesn't.
He was also for a minute. He was Clark Kent. That was just for a minute.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That was in the middle of the film.
I will say that Aish actually looked really good. I liked how Aish looked. Aish looked really, really good as far as avatars go. So I like that was really great how that one looked.
I liked Iron Giant being in the film.
I will say that how the Sixers look actually made sense. I kind of like how they looked. That made sense to me. But there was a lot of like actually when we see later I want to say Daito become something
Gundam.
from Gundam. And in the movie, in the book, they all had their own like giant robots just in their inventory. They could control.
Gundam is Gundam not in the book?
No, Gundam is.
Okay.
But
that's my favorite part of the movie, by the way.
But I want to say Gundam might even have been Wade Watts' maybe.
That is my favorite. My favorite scene in the movie is the Mecha Godzilla fight, and then Daito's waiting. He's just waiting and meditating, and then he logs in, and he's like, "I choose the form of Gundam." That is my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, the Mecha Godzilla thing was in the movie. That was there where Sorrento had the Mecha Godzilla. That was in the book.
Right.
And it was funny after I read the book, that whole scene toward the end, because they show it at Comic-Con, they show that in the first trailer, you get to see it. And that was really great. And all those references there made perfect sense. They threw in some new ones like Halo and
Overwatch.
Again, made sense because they weren't around when the book came out. I got that, or they weren't as big then, so that made sense. But there were a lot of really good references there that I thought were wonderful. So that all made sense how they did that. And that whole scene was probably, I think, one of the best from book to movie scenes. It's true they switched a few things around there too, but only a few.
Every adaptation is going to, I'm sure, had, it made a lot of changes from the book as well for the new film.
They did, but they tried to keep more true to the book as they could, rather than, with the one that was on TV. But.
I guess my other issue is toward the end of the movie, after they had all this business with IOI, basically like because they destroy Wade's home, and so then Wade goes on the run with he meets Samantha in the Artemis in the real world. Her name is Samantha. She's basically leading this resistance against IOI, this sort of underground resistance. And they get arrested. She gets arrested and taken to a loyalty center. So then they have to kind of trick her to get out. And then Wade is able to rally sort of the whole all of the Oasis players to fight against IOI, to beat them at the last challenge, which was funny. And because then that's when you see just this army of, characters of film, TV, and video games just sort of running around. And then you see the gamers in real life. They're running around like acting out the game in real life. That's one other thing I didn't like about the movie. It didn't make sense to see people running around in the streets like acting out the game. Like,
no, it didn't.
Wouldn't people like die if they were doing that? If I have a virtual reality headset and I'm running around flipping, like I would get run over by a truck.
Yeah. So really when it comes to that scene there, I have a few issues too, and I'll get into them. First of all, what happens is.
Yeah.
First of all, after Wade's house gets blown up,
right?
They
use drones.
Yes.
They use those little flying drones to blow up his house.
Now, in the book, after that happens, he runs away and actually creates another name entirely. He becomes someone else, like Bryce something. He changes his name.
He makes a new avatar. Does he restart at level 1 or what?
No, he just makes a new like identity. He's still Parzival in like the Oasis.
Oh, he changes his identity in real life. You mean?
And so he gets his own apartment. He has like his own like pod. He's not really leaving the house much because by then him and Artemis have gone poof. So he's depressed there. He's got like some kind of like companion assistant type thing like in his building. You never see this in the movie at all, by the way. And then eventually he makes up a plan because, and this is going to be a spoiler for the book, but I'm going to tell you about it. So we do see in the movie where Sorrento goes, yeah, we know who you really are, Parzival. You're actually Wade Watts. We know this. What we don't see is they figured out who 4 out of 5 of the other top 5 are, with the exclusion of H because they can't find H. They don't know who H is. They don't know what they look like. Nothing. They just know it's H. They don't know where they live, but they know where all the others live. And so they find Daito, and his real person, and throw him out of his building and kill him.
Oh, wow.
So Daito gets murdered. Daito gets killed.
And who does the Gundam thing at the end?
Yeah, I think it was either like Shoto uses it or like Parzival do, one of the two.
That's pretty dark. I'm glad they didn't.
And so what happens?
Honestly, I'm glad they didn't put that in the movie.
And so what happens is because Daito and Shoto kind of like say they're brothers, all in the Oasis. They're not actually blood brothers, but they consider themselves brothers.
Yeah.
So Shoto's really broken up when it happens. And actually, at one point, they had gotten.
I don't know if I like that, Jay. I got to be honest. I think having the death in the movie was a little excessive.
And so, anyways, I'll continue on what else isn't there. So what happens in the book next is there was at one point they got a power up where they could become Ultraman for 3 minutes, and that's what I think actually Shoto does. He becomes Ultraman for 3 minutes instead of becoming the Gundam thing. Which
so Gundam isn't in the book, is what you're saying?
He is, but like I said, I think Parzival had it.
Okay.
I think Parzival had something. So what happens next is he makes a plan because he knows he has to get into IOI's stuff to try to do something to not only save his friends, get the message out, and also because he knows they're still looking for him. So he lets himself get in dead. He becomes indentured. He hacks and gets all this stuff, and he gets the message out, but he gets the message out just like through I think text or something. He's not talking to Artemis because they're just not talking at that point. But when he gets out to the Oasis, hey, because he finally figures out where the third one is, right?
Right.
And what actually happens is eventually, he hacks in and gets out, and escapes IOI. And what he finds out, because at the beginning of the book, when Aish and Parzival are hanging out in Aish's little hideaway, someone knocks over a book. And they thought it was just, the wind or something, right? But it was Ogden Morrow was actually in there. And Ogden Morrow gets a hold of Shoto, Aish, Parzival, and Artemis and says, hey, come to my house and I'll help you guys with the third challenge because you need to get away anyway, right? And the real reason you can't find Aish is because Aish actually had an RV. So Aish is it looks a little bit different, a little bit curvier, still African-American woman. We get deeper into her being a lesbian in the book than we do, and she tells her story of how everything came to be. And so what happens is she has an RV.
All right. I think we're getting a little off track here.
But anyway, so that's just what happens in the book, as you get into more about that.
Here's my main issue. It doesn't I think it's weird to see players running around in real life, on the streets playing that game.
And what happens in the book is they don't
do that in the book? Why can't how would that?
No, it doesn't work.
Die if you went outside.
In the book, what happens is in the book they're in their homes or rooms or whatever, right? They're not running around. That's not what happens. And Aish even has something in the RV, but that's why they can't find Aish because Aish is always moving, and she doesn't live in the same place as Artemis.
In the movie, Wade has that. He has that omnidirectional treadmill. So he can run around. He can move around in place,
which he gets eventually. He doesn't have it in his little way in the very beginning. But that's okay.
But it doesn't make sense if you I understand if you're playing a virtual reality game, the rig would mimic your movements in real life, in the game world. I get that, but if you're playing that game, you would not want to run outside and act out, because if you're wearing a visor, you can't really see what's in front of you. You see what's in front of you inside the game. Wouldn't you die? Like, you would get hit by a truck or something, wouldn't you? Or like, or you would walk into someone, or what? Or you could walk into, like, you could walk over an edge and like break your neck.
And anyway, so it's getting toward the ending of the book. Is Ogden? They go to Ogden.
Answer my question, Jay. Before you go to that, answer my question. What do you think of that? Am I wrong here or what?
No, you're right. You're right. It's crazy they did that. It doesn't.
But how do they do? Well, how do they work on that in the book then?
Like I said, in the book, they were just they either had like because Wade eventually does get like they have rigs like some people have rigs.
I mean all the other players we see who are
some people have rigs like Sorrento did,
right? Like a chair.
People, and other people just like are in their homes with like like a treadmill or something. That's what they do. They don't leave their house.
People like do they have a scene of like people running around in the streets kicking and jumping?
No, they do not. No.
I mean, I get that. I know why you put that in the movie, because it's dramatic.
Yeah.
It's dramatic to see like all these people like banding together and like doing all the little flips and stuff.
Yeah.
I get that it's visually dramatic and compelling to see that.
Yeah, but it wasn't in the book. No.
But even though but in my head it doesn't make sense that people are doing that. Do you understand what I'm saying here?
I get it. I do get it. And it's not in the book. Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
And so
those scenes really bothered me, honestly.
And so what happens too is he had never actually met any of the people. He meets Aish first when Aish helps him get to Ogden Morrow's place. Yeah. And Ogden Morrow's place in the real world looks like something out of Rivendell. So he's a big Lord of the Rings fan.
Right.
And they meet Ogden Morrow in person. Ogden Morrow helps them all get into the Oasis, and he doesn't even meet Artemis until the very, very end. He doesn't know what she looks.
In the movie, Ogden Morrow.
Yeah, he saw a picture of all of them, and he knows that she has the rash on her, like the birthmark on her face, which she does in this. But there's just a bigger scene there of like Ogden Morrow kind of being the one to rally him together and help him out, and stop IOI.
Well, I liked what they did in the movie with Ogden Morrow, where it turns out he was the curator of the library the whole time.
Yeah,
and he did help Wade, just in a more subtle way. He gives him a coin, and the coin acts as an extra life. So when he dies, he doesn't zero. So in the game, you die if you zero out. If you lose your life, you lose everything. You lose all your money, all your items, and all your progression, your levels. So you have to start back at zero. But he had this coin that said extra life.
But he still lost everything. He still lost everything. He just was able to continue. His avatar didn't die.
I don't think he lost. I don't think he lost everything.
Because he went from wearing armor and all this stuff to just wearing like shorts and a shirt. So he did lose everything still.
I think he still had his basic inventory. I'd have to go back and watch it again.
I don't think he did, because anyways, in the book, what happens is how he gets that quarter, for starters, is he goes somewhere and he finds an arcade somewhere where he thinks is like, something for a challenge or something like that. And he plays some old game where he gets up into it again, a game I'd never heard of, some really early arcade game.
Well, what game?
I want to say like Tiger or something. I can't remember off the top of my head. And he plays it and he wins, but he gets a quarter. He goes, wait, why did I get a quarter for? But it doesn't say extra life of it. He just goes, okay, I have a quarter of my inventory. I can't take it out of my inventory. I can't get rid of it.
So, but that device with the extra life quarter is in the book then, right?
Yes, but you don't know it has extra life. It's just he got a quarter. I don't know why I got a quarter for. That's kind of weird. So, and
we don't know what it does in the movie either.
True, but anyways, so I kind of liked the ending in the. Well, here's the thing. So they still have the final fight. There's a lot more going on at the final fight. And actually, there's this after he gets the Easter egg, he pretty much becomes like kind of like Anarok in a sense where he has the robe and he has powers that normally people wouldn't have, because it shows in the book that Ogden Morrow, being one of the creators, has powers and abilities in the Oasis that normal people just don't have, because he's one of the kind of like people in charge of it, right?
Right.
And
he's one of the creators.
And we did see the scene in the book where after the third, because you had to have 3 crystal keys to open the last gate.
Right.
You couldn't do it by yourself, which is why they had to band together. Anyway.
I don't really want to get into that too much, just because it is what it is. Okay, he gets the keys, he opens the gate, and he meets Halliday. It's sort of Is Halliday even really dead, or do you think?
No, he is. He is. He is. Yes, he's dead. And
but the implication there is that Halliday he created not just Oasis. There's an implication that he might have created some type of advanced artificial life. That avatar he meets in his home, in his childhood home, in that digital realm, almost seemed to have more awareness than a regular avatar, or I guess an artificial.
I think the reason
like an average artificial AI thing.
I think a reason he's able to do that was just because he was one of the creators, so he could kind of do things that others people couldn't do. So I think that's why that happened. Because no, he's not. He's dead.
Well, he says he's dead, but it seemed in the movie it seemed ambiguous, Jay, whether he was actually dead.
I didn't catch that. That's just me. I didn't catch it.
Because I think Wade even asks him if he really died, and he says yes. And I did like the message that games are fun, but the real world is like what's really real. I like that message, but that's not really a message that really comes out a lot throughout much of the film, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and like I said, I was just bummed that Ogden Morrow was given such a smaller part than he had in the book.
Here's my other major problem with the movie. Ogden Morrow does show up at the end to help, and he shows up to help the kids because Wade basically owns the whole game thing now, right?
Yeah, correct.
So early in the movie, did they not say that Gregarious Games basically fired Ogden Morrow and he was no longer a part of the company?
They said that in the movie. In the book, that wasn't true.
But they say that in the movie, right?
Correct.
So why is he there representing Ogden? Why is Ogden Morrow there representing Gregarious Games at the end?
I don't know.
Is that like a friend of mine yelled at me and said they just brought him back like Stephen Jobs. That's all it was. So I'm like, well, when did they bring him back? Am I being unfair here?
No, I think what they did was they didn't explain it as well in the movie as they did in the book.
Right.
Because what happened in the book, and I think they tried to explain this in the movie, but they didn't do a good job, is in the book, it wasn't necessarily that Ogden Morrow got fired. It's like, I think he just necessarily quit. He just one day was like, you know what, I'm sorry. Because and you sort of see it in that interaction. You sort of see where he's like, look, Halliday needs to move forward, needs to do this, needs to do that. And Halliday's like, no, I'm not doing that. So I don't think that he actually quit. I think that he got fired. I think he quit. I think is what happened. So I think because
it seemed like Morrow was sort of concerned about what they had created.
And so because in the book, what happens is, and I do have to get into this, is Halliday and Morrow loved the same woman.
That's in the film too.
A little bit. But again, we hear more of it in the book, where basically Halliday liked the woman and she actually played D&D with them at one point.
That was mentioned.
The name Kira.
Her character was Kira.
Yeah, and so, but what happened was Halliday was way too shy to ever say anything and make anything come of it. They went on one date.
Right, they went on a date, and he didn't take the jump. He didn't take the plunge.
And then basically when Morrow and her end up together, I think that kind of caused a rift in their friendship, and I just kind of did damage that couldn't be repaired from then on. Pretty much.
Right. Well, that's a big part of the film as well.
It is, but again, you hear a lot more of it in the book than you did in the movies.
Okay. Well, is that what severed their friendship in the book, though?
Yeah, in the end, because and then of course her passing too. She dies too, I feel all that was interpreted fairly obvious. I understood all that. All right, but just there's you kind of because in the movie they're
what did they leave out?
They left out the whole thing of where because we saw that Halliday liked her, but we didn't know that Halliday liked her as much as we could tell he did in the book. Is really what they left out.
I feel it seemed pretty obvious to me. There's the whole there's that whole scene with the Shining.
Yeah,
to be about that. So
I guess
I feel you're being a little unfair there. All right. Well, in conclusion, I liked Ready Player One a lot. If I were to rate it out of 10, I would give it an 8 out of 10. I think this is probably one of Steven Spielberg's best films in a long time, and I'll say why. I did not like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the last Indiana Jones movie. And it's okay if you disagree with me, but I thought it was not sincere. I felt when he was making that film, Spielberg's heart did not seem to be into that film or the material or the characters at all. This movie feels a lot more genuine and sincere about what it's doing and what it's saying than that Indiana Jones film. Yeah. And I feel the way it uses pop culture and references and whatnot, it does it, I think, in a way that's fun and playful and interesting, but it's not pervasive. They didn't overdo. I don't think they overdid it too much, and that's the main reason I like the film. I'll give Ready Player One an 8 out of 10. What about you, Jay?
I do a 7 out of 10 just because it's good, but they really there's just like there's so many dimensions to characters they left out, which I wish they hadn't.
Okay.
Some of the things they tweaked made sense. Some I wish they hadn't, and it made sense to change the ending. That made sense because the ending is different from the book. It made perfect sense to do that, but I just really was disappointed that, like, they changed the characters in ways that just were kind of like a shame, in my opinion. How they were in the book was so much better for all the characters. Sorrento is a much more dangerous villain, and really, I thought that there were a lot of pop culture references I kind of wish they had left in the movie that they didn't. So I have to give it a 7 out of 10 because
I wish we did see the Millennium. If we did see the Millennium Falcon, that would have been pretty cool. But
because in my opinion, this is a good movie, but the book was just better.
Fair enough. I mean,
I enjoyed this too. I didn't hate it.
I think most people, like book readers, when there's a movie or a TV show, I think most people have that feeling that the book is better. All right, so that was our spoiler cast talk of Ready Player One.
You can un-earmuff now.
Yeah, so now we're back. Now we're back to non-spoiler talk and whatnot. So, I guess the first major thing I wanted to talk about here, because I don't think we really got into it a lot last week. So, X-Men: Dark Phoenix got delayed several months. It's been delayed from November 2018. Now it's coming out February 14th. There are lots of rumors about this. Do you think this is a smart move, Jay?
I think so, because really, I think that if this movie is as bad or worse than Apocalypse, they're in big freaking trouble, because Apocalypse is probably one of the worst X-Men movies I've ever seen.
What do you think of Days of Future Past?
I thought that was great. I loved Days of Future Past.
Okay,
but I thought it was wonderful.
So it's weird they went from a good movie like Days of Future Past to just jumping off a cliff like Apocalypse, right?
It really is, yes. So I think that it's actually a good idea to do this, because maybe you're going, hey, we need to fine-tune some stuff. Maybe we need to do some reshoots, or maybe we just need to, like, make sure that, we have some idea what we're doing. Because either way, it's kind of hard to continue to not go back to square one after Dark Phoenix anyway. It kind of is.
If the movie is as bad as you think, I mean, what is really delaying it 3 months going to do?
I don't know.
Here's my issue. There was talk in the Hollywood Reporter that they're giving it the same release date as Black Panther and Deadpool. This year, Black Panther came out around the same time. Deadpool came out around the same time in 2016. But only a few days after the Lego Movie sequel. So now it has to deal with that. However, I think in November it was up against like that Nutcracker movie that Disney is doing. So I don't really get why they think February is going to have less competition. You understand?
I understand what you're saying, but because they were going to go against Crimes of Grindelwald too, which would have been not a good idea.
Right, but I mean that'll probably be a big hit.
And isn't November when Ralph Breaks the Internet comes out too?
I'll look right now. So there's a Dr. Seuss animated movie.
Oh yeah, The Grinch. Oh.
The Girl in the Spider's Web. It wasn't coming out the same week as Crimes of Grindelwald.
The Girl in the Spiderweb?
Yeah, it's like it's sort of like a soft. It's like a sequel reboot of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so it like it's a sequel to Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the movie, but none of the original actors are back. They've like Daniel Craig and who was the girl in the
Naomi Rapace, want to say something?
No, she was in the Europe. This is the American version.
I thought she was in the American version.
No, she wasn't. The American version was a different. Hold on. Rooney Mara. Kate Mara's sister.
Okay.
So that was the American one with Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara. So this will have a different cast.
Okay.
And let's see what else was around there. Bohemian Rhapsody, which is that's the one about Freddie Mercury and Queen.
Oh, that's finally coming out. Interesting.
Yeah.
Who's going to be Freddie Mercury?
Hold on, I'm getting an annoying phone call. So honestly, I mean, there are movies coming out around that time, but to me, the competition isn't that heavy.
But not Ralph Breaks the Internet? That doesn't come out in November?
Ralph Breaks the Internet. When does that come out?
I thought that was in November.
No, yeah, it comes out later in the month.
That would be big competition because that's going to be huge.
I mean, there are a lot of movies that month that are going to be huge.
Is November when the Bumblebee movie comes out, or is that earlier in the year?
I believe that's. I want to see. Bumblebee's December. It's closer to Christmas.
Okay.
So I don't know. Okay. So that's the other. Here's the other big shocker. The New Mutants movie, which was supposed to come out this month and got pushed back to next year, has been moved again. Now the movie is coming out August 2nd, 2019. And in case you didn't know, Disney is in the midst of an acquisition of 20th Century Fox, a studio. That could take until early next year or the middle of next year. What do you make of New Mutants getting delayed over a year now?
I think for that movie, because if a movie gets delayed that much, I've seen movies get delayed that much.
It's usually a bad sign.
It is. It's a very bad sign. I mean, I actually watched a movie last year that had been delayed like 6 times. It was absolute trash, and I wish I'd never watched it. It was Medieval: The Awakening. That had been pushed like 6, 7 times. When it finally got released, it only got released like 10 theaters in the whole 50 states, only out for like a week or two. And just like was an absolute garbage. So with this, if they keep pushing this back, I think there's almost a point. You know what? Just don't release it at all. There's
a lot of talk about that. Because one would assume if the Fox deal with Disney goes through, that Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige will now control the film rights of the X-Men franchise.
Yeah,
one would assume they will do like what they did with Spider-Man. Start over from scratch and make movies that are set in the MCU with X-Men, right?
Which isn't that a good idea anyway?
I mean, isn't that, and that means basically you're getting rid of everybody, don't you think?
Yeah.
The only people you maybe keep are Deadpool, probably.
Yeah. And the truth is, that's really like after since Apocalypse, I've been saying that's what they need to do anyway. Just start over anyway.
I would have said don't even make Dark Phoenix. You know.
Because we already saw Dark Phoenix. Don't get me wrong. What's her name? I want to say it's Sophie something. What's her name?
Sophie Turner.
Sophie Turner. I thought she's not a bad Jean Grey, but
it wasn't good. I have no interest in seeing a Dark Phoenix film about her.
I really don't either. I just don't. So
not to mention they can't even keep like they're skipping 10 years.
Yeah.
Like how are we supposed to believe those characters are 10 years older? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for the people who worked on New Mutants, but it just seems like that movie's dying a slow death right now.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. That's just the way it comes off to me.
I think what's going to happen with that movie is if they keep pushing it back, they will release it, but it'll be like where it's going to be a really limited release. You won't probably get a chance to see it in theaters. It won't do that well in theaters.
Or they might just make it like direct to Hulu or something.
Yeah, and either way it's gonna, not do well. It's just what's gonna happen.
Okay.
It's just the reality.
Okay, so there's some new. Okay, so a series of unfortunate events, season 2 on recently debuted on Netflix. Any quick thoughts on that? Quick and dirty.
Yeah, first of all, it was funny. I saw it at WonderCon. I thought the first episode was actually the third episode, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But this season was good because there's another group of kids that they meet now. I want to say called the Quagmires, who also had their parents die in a tragic fire. There was 3 of them. Only 2 of them survived. They were triplets. So we get to see the dynamic of them and the Baudelaires, which is really kind of cool. Nathan Fillion comes on as Jock Snicket. So we get to see, like, Lemony Snicket's brother. So that was kind of cool. We get to find out.
Is Lemony Snicket in this season?
Yes, we still see him around as, we get to see that still, which is really cool. We have a new person come onto so we hear about the VFD, which they don't really know what it is, but they start to learn more about it. It turns out it's a volunteer fire department. This was a secret society their parents and their, guardians were all a part of. And we get to learn more about the history of Count Olaf and how he used to be a part of the organization. We actually find out an interesting thing about Beatrice that I will not spoil, but it's actually pretty surprising.
Okay. I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Since we learn more about Count Olaf, do they make him into a more sympathetic character in this show?
No, he's still not sympathetic. He's still not.
My understanding,
if anything,
in the books, he sort of becomes a more sympathetic character by the end, I believe.
So far in this season, you probably are going to hate him more than less. That's what's going to happen, just in this season.
Okay.
And I really liked this season. It was really cool. You find out because in the beginning of a lot of the first episodes of season 1 and even season 2, you see a lot of little letters or notes that Lemony Snicket wrote to Beatrice. You find out an interesting thing. There's 2 interesting things you find about this season besides what VFD is. You find out that one of their parents might have survived the fire, which is really interesting.
That's a big reveal.
Because you're like, hey, Count Olaf's like, well, great, I may not get the Baudelaire fortune after all. Now,
I believe it's a trick, though.
And the second thing is that we find out something about Beatrice that I won't spoil. That was actually pretty impressive. I won't spoil that, but that's pretty impressive. So this season, it was another 8-10 episode season, but yeah, it was a really great season, and I'm really looking forward to where it goes next. It does that great job again of doing usually 2 episode parts for each chapter. It breaks it down into chapters, and yeah, it was in a lot of really cool guest cameos on this show again, which this show does a great job of. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I like this season a lot.
Okay, so before we check out here, I wanted to address this since this is one of your favorite shows. So as you all know, the ABC series Roseanne, starring Roseanne Barr, came back with a new season for ABC. Mm-hmm. Basically, the 11th season.
Season 10, actually.
They're calling it this is the 11th season.
Well, no, it just got picked up for its 11th season.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is season 10, basically, and it has the entire original cast, including John Goodman. Yes. So ABC has already picked up the show for an 11th season
after only the first 2 episodes airing.
Right, because the first 2 episodes pulled in some huge ratings. Mm-hmm. Let's see, live plus same ratings, 18.2 million viewers. This is from Deadline. Mm-hmm. 5.2 rating in adults 18 through 49. They've been pulling in some pretty huge numbers for network shows. So, are you happy about this news, Jay?
I was actually, I have to be honest, I was surprised when I heard this news, honestly.
I heard ABC said they were going to wait before they make any decisions like that.
Because what was so weird was, honestly, I don't hate the show, but the first episode especially, the first episode was okay, but I didn't laugh that much, to be honest.
You were more excited about this revival than anyone I know.
Well, here's the funny part. I really wasn't.
You sound really excited when we talked about it here.
Well, here's the thing. The first episode was a good episode, but it wasn't as strong of a pilot. I've seen stronger pilots, to be honest.
Okay.
The second episode was a bit better, but still I didn't laugh that much. It wasn't until I watched the most recent episode that airs tomorrow called Roseanne Gets the Chair where I actually laughed more. It felt more like, hey, this feels like the show that I remember. This is like imperfection at its best, where the first 2 episodes basically just kind of like introduce these characters. There aren't a lot of laughs there. At least it weren't for me for season episode 1 or 2. So when I heard it got picked up after the first 2 episodes, I was like, I didn't see that coming so soon.
It didn't get picked up because of the ratings. The ratings are insane for this show right now.
But my point is, like,
what if the ratings start dropping and they've already set up this deal to do another season?
Yeah, I was just surprised that it got picked up so soon because, like I said, I've seen stronger first and second episodes than this. I just have on a lot of other shows. So they weren't bad starts for the show, but they weren't as strong as some starts I've seen for shows. So that I was surprised when I heard this news.
Is this show doing well, you think, because it's catering to an audience that Hollywood generally avoids?
Maybe, but I don't know. Like I said, it's just because, like I said, the first 2 episodes didn't feel like the old show. They just didn't. They didn't have that same spark, that same, great thing about it, where the third episode does. So if they keep going,
but the numbers are there.
I agree, but I'm saying, but like at least for me as a fan of the original, if they do what they do on the third for the next 6 episodes, then I could see it easily doing well in the second season. But if it starts to go down like they do that for the third, then they try to do something different for the other ones. Yeah.
My understanding is that Sarah Gilbert is sort of spearheading this revival. Darlene. I don't know if she's one of the. Let me see here. Something I wanted to check about. I wanted to see if Sarah Gilbert was one of the producers. But yeah, Sarah Gilbert is an executive producer on this show. So I don't know. I've read that she's sort of been a driving creative force. What do you think about that?
I think that's interesting. I didn't know that she was an executive producer on this, and I don't know.
Does this show bother you politically?
No, I wouldn't say that. It's just like I said, like I'd seen. So when I heard that it got picked up after just the first 2 episodes airing, I was just shocked because I'm like, I've seen better first and second episodes than those first 2 episodes. It's just the reality. I like them, but I didn't love them.
Here's something interesting from the Deadline article by Nellie Andreeva about the revival. It says the massive ratings success stunned Hollywood, prompting soul-searching about doing more series that realistically portray the economic problems of working-class families and reflect conservative political views, as well as talk about rebooting more beloved sitcoms. Well, Fuller House has done well. Undeniably.
Yeah.
Roseanne is doing well right now.
Yeah.
You're kind of snarling there. You're kind of sneering.
Well, when it comes to Fuller House, yeah.
Well,
I mean, but I don't like it.
But do you think this is the reality we're looking at now?
I know that this might be more of a driving force for the Married Children Union because they've been talking about that for years. They want to do that for years.
Oh man, I don't really think I like that idea.
But there are some shows where I fear this will be a driving force to bring shows back that don't need to be brought back. Like the new Will and Grace, it's okay, but it is not as good as the original. That's just a fact. So they bring some of these shows back, and they don't need to be brought back.
Is there a sitcom like this besides Roseanne you want to see brought back? They've already done like X-Files, Twin Peaks, and plenty of others.
I can't think of one. I wouldn't mind seeing Married Children if they did it right. But that's about the only one.
I wouldn't want to see a Friends like Friends brought back, No. Like I kind of feel like you don't want to see those characters when they're older, No. Don't you agree?
You don't. The Married Children makes sense
because that's not what Friends was about.
Yeah, because toward the end of Married Children, Al and Peg are getting older anyway, and the kids are getting older anyway. So
how could you even do I don't even know how you could do another season of Married with Children.
They could find some way to do it.
I mean, Fuller House, they made it about the daughters and their own kids. So that, even though I don't like that show, that it kind of makes sense. Don't you agree?
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I'm trying to think. Now, if I had my choice, it wouldn't be like a sitcom. Like, do you remember Exo Squad from the 90s?
No.
Like, it's an action cartoon show that was produced by Universal Studios. That's a show I would want to see brought back. Anything else? Gargoyles. Remember Gargoyles?
Yeah, I didn't watch that one much.
Disney,
I know the show, but
Gargoyles, and Darkwing Duck. There you go. Those are the shows. I don't want sitcoms. I want animated.
But isn't Darkwing Duck coming back anyway on DuckTales?
No, I mean we might see him on DuckTales, but I mean I want a new Darkwing Duck TV series. That's what I want. A reboot. How do you feel about that?
I know that Jim Cummings would be all for it. So yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So I could see that.
But he's just the voice actor. He's not like the creator or producer. Mm-hmm. All right. So basically, we kind of have to close things off this week because I have to get going. I'm on my way to the premiere of Blockers, starring John Cena. Aren't you excited about that?
That movie's terrible.
Okay. Before we leave, though, how do you think Avengers: Infinity War is looking so far?
I think that one's going to do really, really well. I really am excited for it. And while we're talking about stuff we're going to see, I'm supposed to see The Quiet Ones on Wednesday. So we'll see if that's good or not. But
The Quiet Ones or A Quiet Place?
A Quiet Place, that's it.
Right. Apparently that's screened at WonderCon, the whole movie. We missed it, though.
Really?
Let me see.
Weird. Are you sure it didn't screen somewhere around during WonderCon?
Yeah, Paramount Pictures WonderCon screened the whole movie at during WonderCon.
Weird.
Yeah, we missed that. We kind of missed out on that.
I want to say I saw a posting for that, but I thought it was like somewhere around WonderCon or somewhere outside of it. I didn't think it was.
Let me see. It might not have been at the actual venue, but apparently it was in that area.
Yeah, I saw a posting for that. I think it was on Friday. I was like, I don't really.
Okay, here it was at AMC Downtown Disney Theater, so it was next door.
Yeah.
It was at Downtown Disney next door, basically.
Yeah.
You know where Downtown Disney is opposed to?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's that. I think. Do you think Infinity War will be bigger than Black Panther? Let me give you some. Black Panther right now is at $650 million domestic, worldwide 1.2. It's Black Panther has grossed more money domestically than the first Avengers movie. So it's the highest grossing domestic Marvel movie ever.
I think what's going to be tough with Infinity War is we know it's in 2 parts, so we know it's going to end on a cliffhanger. That's what's going to be tough.
The filmmakers are saying it's not in 2 parts.
But technically it is because Avengers 4 is going to be the second part, right?
No, because they're not saying what the title. This movie is Infinity War. The next movie is not Infinity War Part 2, basically.
No, it's not, but it is going to be a continuation of the story, I believe.
Well, yeah. Probably.
So that's going to be the problem with Infinity War is it'll be a great film if they do it right, which I think they will, but it's going to be tough because it's going to end on a place where you have to wait a year to see what's going to happen next.
Well,
about it.
The upside is it's only a year. I mean, back in the day, we'd have to wait like 3 years or 2 years or more. So
true. So, but I don't know. It could do better than Black Panther, but
Black Panther has already done better than Age of Ultron, which only made 459.
Yeah.
It hasn't beaten Age of Ultron worldwide yet, but it probably will soon.
Yeah, probably will. So
Black Panther is a game changer, man.
Yeah, it's hard to say if Infinity War will do better than Black Panther because Black Panther was pretty dang amazing. But again, if they do Infinity War right, it could do better than Black Panther.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll see. That's the truth. We'll see.
Okay, so that's about it this week. I'm sure we'll get together and do another show soon. We'll talk about Alex Inc. and Siren yet. There's just not enough time today. So everybody, this is Jeffrey Harris for 411 Mania. Go to 411mania.com. Check out my review of Ready Player One and The Last Jedi on Blu-ray. And Jay, where can people check you out online?
They can find me on Goodman Project, the Arts and Entertainment section. You can see my reviews for the first episodes of Roseanne, Siren, Alex Inc., The Crossing, which premiered tonight on ABC. And you can also, in the next week or two, I got a review copy of Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, so I will be talking about that in the next week or two. So that'll be really cool. So
Yeah.
And of course, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm on there now for that too. So
all right. Well, we can talk. Yeah, we can talk more about that next week and Guardians of the Galaxy and whatnot. Everyone, go Astros! Enjoy this season of baseball. Astros World Series champions 2018. Here we come. Thank you, everybody, and have a safe week. Bye-bye.